what did I do now? Because I don't owe people. What did I do? You know, andithathanga mntu ndenze ntoni? Me,
A
SABC,
whole me. A whole me.
a village girl. There's also a lady called Nestum. She is hosting another radio station from SABC, how Lesedi FM. How ngisathi somebody recommended me to DJ Malwela. How Metro FM.
Oh.
Did I not cry? I was like, what? And then I played at Josie FM, and yeah, and then I came to Korea. The whole Lesedi FM situation was happening in the midst of me grieving because I've just recently lost my grandfather. So to me, it was more of like, okay, let me dedicate this to this man. It's because I had put my all, and it was not just me creating a mixtape, but it was very close to my heart.
And so finally you're getting that recognition that you
Yes.
deserve. It's like a mix of pain, but a mix of like joy at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, in order for me to receive love and affirmation from my parents and the people around me, I had to be academic. Because to be academic for me means to be loved. Hey,
Eh,
who's those? La, bo, la, so, whatever, whatever.
Ngiyayibamba yaphunyuka.
The angels bow down at the thought of you. The darkness gives way to the light for you. The price that you pay gives us life brand new. Hosanna forever, we worship you. Hosanna forever, we worship you.
Look at you just brush through ABC like it's nothing. You do interviews like it's nothing. That's massive.
No, the thing is, I felt like maybe you're gonna ask me later, but let me not like go deep into it. So I was like, oh yeah, I did
My
radio
friend,
test and then ACABC.
Kenna.
You get it, eh? You get it. You
Go
get it.
there, go there,
I
go,
get
go,
it.
go.
So yeah, and then I started moving around Limpopo, different parts of Limpopo, playing, building my name. But for me, even today, most people they think it's about the money that comes with it, but also they forget that what drives you to become that person. So for me, it was always about passion. And then I moved from, and then I started meeting people. Then I met this other lady from home. Her name is DJ Lady Shakes. So I don't know how she saw my video or who said what to her. And then she was like, oh yeah, can you please search for this girl? She posted on Facebook. Hey, and then someone sends me a screenshot, and I'm like, oh, what did I do now? Because I don't owe people. What did I do? You know, andithathanga mntu ndenze ntoni? You know, because the way she posted it, it was like most wanted. I was like, what? Jehovah, what did I do? Okay, and then I I reached out to her, and she was like, I heard someone. Oh, she said I heard my little brother saying that you're a DJ. So SABC Mngana Nene is looking for female DJs for the Women's Month edition, and I was like, me,
A
SABC,
whole me, a whole me.
a village girl. Oh, okay. And then that's when SABC came about, and then I played there, I think twice or three times. And then from there, I don't know if you know Nestum. She used to be a presenter for Gem Ellie back in the days. Back in the days. There was a lady on
Probably
TV.
no.
Yeah, there was a lady on TV who used to present Gem Ellie. Is it Gem Ellie? Yes, Gem Ellie back then. And then I don't know how she reached out to me, and then she was like, oh, no, there's a guy that I met who's a DJ, and he was like, oh, there's also a lady called Nestum. She's hosting another radio station from SABC, how Lesedi FM.
Heaven.
okay. I pissed. Ngathi, now you mixtape girl. Yeah, shoot ayathi fo. And she was like, siyakufuna futhi, bayakufuna, buya futhi, ngabuya. I think I went 3 times. Hayi ke na mase kuba njalo ke na amagigi ayangena kuyavela kuyacaca yabo. And then how ngisathi ngihleli, somebody recommended me to DJ Malwela. Okay, DJ Malwela. Okay. How? Metro FM.
Oh.
And then the guy sends me an email. He was like, can you please send me a 1 hour mix of your mixtape? We want to play it on Metro FM. Did I not cry? Did I not cry? I was like, what? And then yeah, it came about, and then I played at Josie FM, and yeah, and then I came to Korea.
That is so wild. I don't want to lie. Like there's a flood of like questions that I want to ask you, but it's like questions that, like, if I ask one question, the conversation is going in this direction. If I ask you another question, it's going in that direction. Okay, so the first question that comes to mind is, so the first call you get from the SABC is from, you said the lady that was presenting on Gem Ellie, right?
Gem Ellie, yeah. Nestum, yeah, Nestum.
Nestum. Okay, so Nestum calls you. Take me through that. How are you feeling? You get you see the post, you get the call, you're having the conversation. Take me back. Talk me through what's going on. What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Okay, okay, here's what happened, right? The whole Lesedi FM situation was happening in the midst of me grieving, because I've just recently lost my grandfather, and my emotions are all over the place. But when I received that call, I still remember we were preparing for the funeral, and she sent me a message, and she was like, it was actually not a call, it was a message. She was like, girl, Nestum, Bona, Lesedi FM, we need women for the Women's Month celebration. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm excited, but I'm not really entirely excited. I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm mixed emotions. And I was like, I'm not gonna let this face steal the joy. I'm gonna do what I have to do, and then deal with the grief on the side. So I remember preparing the mixtape in my uncle's room, because endlini they were busy, abantu bayangena bayaphuma. And then the songs that I selected from that mixtape were the songs that every time Lalela, I feel a little bit emotional. So to me, it was more of like, okay, let me dedicate this to this man. You know, he never got a chance to be exposed to me doing great things. So whichever song that I'm gonna play, let it be a song that is close to my heart. Ngayidlala. And then she actually liked it, and she actually enjoyed it to a point where I think on the last day she requested me to come back again. The last interaction we had together, I think it was 2020, yeah. No, 2021, yes, 2020, to do the last mix. And then she was like, I am an le mixtape le wayidlala ekuqaleni. People loved it. Ibuyise futhi, send it back to me so that I can play it. Didn't I send it back? And then I sent it back. And then from there, I realized that the reason why it was so beautiful, it's because I had put my all, and it was not just me creating a mixtape, but it was very close to my heart. So I was like, nyabong. Yeah.
Wow. Yo, that is an amazing story. And I like how it's a blend of like it's a very painful period where you're going through grief, you're processing the
Mm-hmm.
passing of your grandfather. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's almost like a moment where you're finally, because I'm imagining you had put in a lot of work up to this point for you to be recognized at that level. And so
Mm-hmm.
finally you're getting that recognition that you
Yeah.
deserve. So it's like a mix of pain, but a mix of like joy at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
it wasn't really easy, but I'm just glad I did it. So I'm also thinking maybe the mixtape also touched a lot of people to a point of
Mm,
them requesting it again. So I was like, okay,
mm,
it was actually a good thing. So it was a blessing in disguise, I guess.
wow. So, someone at home listening to this interview, wondering what was on that mixtape? How can I listen to that mixtape?
Okay.
Speak to that person.
Okay, so with me, like another thing that I feel like I'm still working on and I had struggled with for a long time, it's confidence in my craft. You know,
Mm,
I have confidence, but kuna la kusleka khona kancane, kwashotanyana man, you know,
mm,
and to a point of which I'd literally create a mixtape and send it to whoever wants it for that specific time and moment. Never have I
mm,
ever had an idea would say, okay, let me start a YouTube channel. Every time when I want to start, I'm like,
mm,
hey, what if? So
mm,
it's now, ever since I came to Korea, that's when I'm like, I need to fight this thing. Remember, Mauba you're
mm,
exposed to a lot of people, negativity. And I will
mm,
kuba negative, even if you're used to, but not in that harsh
mm,
way. Where so it kind of like killed my confidence, and now it's now I'm starting to become more
mm.
confident, but immediately I sort everything out. I'm going to have like a YouTube channel where I'm just gonna post my previous mixtapes, my previous videos, my journey and everything.
Please, and as soon as you do that, come back for another one. We need to have a sit down where you take us through the process of you actually like conceptualizing that channel or whatever platform you choose to put that on,
Yeah.
and just come have a chat with us. I'm really interested in hearing what songs were on that mixtape and sort of hopefully when we meet again talk
Yeah.
about maybe each song and what sort of thought went into selecting each song as it related to your late grandfather.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna make that. Once I've dealt with whatever that I'm gonna deal with, I'll
Mm,
actually post it and I'll let you know. But before we go very far, I want to ask you, have you ever
yeah.
encountered a situation where someone kills your confidence to a point where you feel like anything that you want to do? For instance, you started a podcast, right, and a YouTube channel. Surely
Mm,
the confidence of you starting that was also like always been there. But have you ever been in a
mm,
position where someone kills your confidence
mm,
because you tried to show them something new about you, and how did you deal
mm.
with it?
Phew. That's a very good question, Kat. I think for me it's so many thoughts coming to mind. Okay, one that I'll maybe focus on. So the people that I've received the most support from, I think equally because they know who you are, they know your strengths. They
Mm-hmm.
sort of have a particular idea about what it is you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And by implication, if you do anything outside of that, it's not necessarily meant like it's not that they're putting you down. It's just that from a place of concern, they're saying, this is not you. Maybe you should continue doing what it is that you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So to tie that back to your question, I think I've always been entrepreneurial growing up. So I've always had a knack for things that are entrepreneurial, but also being engaged in businesses that have a positive impact on people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not just about making money, or no, it's not that kind of entrepreneurship, like social entrepreneurship, where I can do something or create something that will hopefully have an impact on someone and better them in some way. So I'll take you back to my childhood. Growing up, I was an academic person, so did very good in primary, did very good in high school, because I have a mother who encouraged that, you know. Um, and I appreciate that, because it really, I'm a slow student by nature. I'm a very slow person, even in the way that I don't know, maybe you can't pick it up, but like, I'm a very slow person. When we wrote exams, I was always the last person to walk out of the exam room. Whenever I read, I'm very, very slow. I'm just naturally a slow person. But because of the encouragement and support from parents, mother, father, I sort of got that reputation of being academic, always in the top 3, top 5, top 10 of whatever in my grade or in my class. So that is who I was. That is how my parents knew me, and particularly my mother. She knew me as the academic child. So, and that's what she always encouraged. And so whenever I wanted to, for example, explore a business idea, sell muffins. I was also very artistic growing up, so I'd draw like, I would Dragon Ball Z, Goku, that sort of thing, and I'd sell it to I'd sell it to my classmates, and they loved that, bruh. And for me, I was like, it's amazing to me that people would buy for 50 cents a piece of paper just because I spent time to do something that I enjoy. Like, I genuinely loved drawing. Yeah. But I think just the encouragement from the parents was always, forget business, you'll do business later, focus on stability, which then entailed focus on school, focus on university. You can always explore your passions later. So it wasn't a conscious thing that they did to sort of kill those other passions, the entrepreneurial passion, the artistic sort of side of me. But it was more a thing of, because this was emphasized so much, being academic and knowing that I was praised and received a lot of love when I achieved academically. Therefore, it's what I wanted to do. I'm like, okay, in order for me to receive love and affirmation from my parents and the people around me, I had to be academic, because to be academic for me means to be loved. So yeah, artistic. Also, I love telling stories. I love sharing stories about me, and about things, just ideas, things going on, that I think will have an impact on others. And this is something that I do understand because of, let's say, family, and all families have this to an extent, family feuds, family drama, family this and the other. I've always been very cautious in terms of what I share. So things that are going on in my family, I've always been very cautious. You can't tell your classmates what your parents do. You can't tell, like, just always growing with in a very sort of controlled way in terms of what it is that you could express, what it is that you could talk about, and very conscious to not say or not do anything that would sort of bring negative light to my parents. So then fast forward to coming to Korea. I think for me, Korea was sort of very similar to what it has been for you. It's very liberating. A little bit, it started a little bit in university, where you've got the freedom to sort of start to explore who you are authentically. And then fast forward to Korea, you're miles away from the country, you're miles away from people who know who you are, and you're therefore able to explore who other interests that may be outside of the strengths that others saw in you. So I felt more free to do this, to start a podcast, felt more free to also, I grew up in a very religious sort of environment where it was church, and what that meant is that very follow a lot of rules. So I wasn't a person who went to clubs. I wasn't a person who would sip on a glass of alcohol or drink coffee or anything of that nature. So Korea was also liberating in that sense. I always had a stereotype that conversations that happen in a club are sort of like very low stand. It comes from a very, very sort of prideful assumption, Ukubone,
Yeah,
that no
yeah.
intelligent conversations happen in a club, in a bar. It's just like talk about, things. But I had some of my best conversations
Mm,
genuinely when I went to a club, when I went to a bar, really
yeah,
genuinely connected with human beings on a level that even at church,
yeah.
on my most spiritual Sunday, it was hard to feel that kind of connection with
Connection,
humans.
yeah.
Very hard. And also, I experienced people who are authentic, genuinely authentic. And it was so liberating for me because I grew up in a church and sort of church and also like a circle of people because they were mostly from church who always wanted to behave in a particular way, who were very
Mm,
careful about, I can't say this or I can't feel that or I can't this, I can't reveal this side of me. I have to be very guarded. But
mm,
I man, when you are sitting with other people in that context, like everyone is just very authentic. And so I
mm,
found that very refreshing.
mm,
So the long-winded answer to that beautiful question is, yeah, very similar for me. I think in the beginning, parents, because they know your strengths and they want to sort of drive you to your strengths,
mhm.
it sort of discouraged me from exploring other interests and other parts of me. Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, church as well, very restrictive.
Mhm, mhm,
And I think for many years sort of held me back from connecting with people who were not
mhm,
religious. So if for me,
mm,
if you weren't a church going person, if you weren't a person whose values were centered on God and blah blah blah,
mhm,
and not drinking and not having sex before marriage and blah blah blah,
yeah,
then we couldn't connect.
yeah.
It was very hard for us to connect. Um, and Korea was definitely the beginning of me being liberated from
Right.
that way of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. Because now when you're busy telling the story, I'm realizing, there's so much that us as people, we deprive ourselves of, more especially when it comes to social settings. And because we grew up in a certain way, and when you grow older you start to discover yourself more in a different way from how you were raised. And nakhona for instance, some of us, it's that thing yokuthi um you learn certain things as you
Mhm.
go with the journey, as you discover people. And to be quite honest with you revealing what you just revealed now, and i'm 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 becoming more, I'm becoming more resistant to be in social settings. As much as I am a DJ, I kind of like, because of the confidence thing that I grew up and they crushed it. Me building it and also me exposing myself to the world, it's kind of like I'm stuck in between. Am I being too much? Am I being too closed? And when I open too much, I feel like I've opened too much. Let me close a little bit. No, I've been closed for too long. So what advice would you give to me as a brother, Uguti? You're feeling this way, it's because of this, and I think this is how it's going to help you, not only based on your experience, but with your own understanding, Uguti. Okay, I think the reason why you feel like this, it's because of one, two, three, and how you can deal with this is like you can do one, two, three.
Hmm. Whew. Very awkward. Listen, let's just swap. Do you want to be the host?
No, Keita, I'm a brotherly instincts, and you I'm a
No.
brotherly instincts because I don't have a brother. So I'm the eldest child. I'm always carrying my siblings. So when
Mm,
certain
mm,
things
mm,
like these happen, you don't know what to
mm,
do. and more especially because with parents, sikhulele emakhaya, Nkosi yami, parents are not as open as our generation. Tina, we are at those generation, this of those. English.
Hey, who's those? La, bo, la, so, whatever, whatever.
So yeah, we are that generation of parents who are self-conscious, self-aware. The things that we experience growing up, we don't want our kids to be exposed to them. So with me, it's that thing, Muti. I'm not really, really entirely close with my parents to an extent of which I can speak about certain things because Nyabazwela, at the same time, Nani, I want someone to feel for me. So in that instance where I feel like I'm opening too much, I'm closing too much, what advice would you give me, and what do you think would be the best solution to overcome this whole entire feeling?
I'd say two things, and I'll give context and expand a bit more in terms of why I'm saying two things. Number one, I'd say self-awareness.
Okay.
And then number two, sorry. So it's got this thing where it responds to hand gestures. So if I do this, it'll pop out hearts.
Okay.
Or if I do this, it'll pop out a thumbs up.
Okay.
Maybe not. But anyways, I'd say self-awareness and self-acceptance. I'll give a bit of background and then explain why I'm saying those two things. So, and I spoke about this in the last podcast, an unfair advantage that I have is that I worked for a counseling NGO. And that was for a span of 2 years when I sort of compacted all together. It was at different points in my life. So I worked, it was formerly called Lifeline. It was then renamed to Masitete. So straight after matric, I worked for this counseling NGO for 1 year. I had a 1-year contract with them.
Whoa. Is it this love life type of thing? They're gonna be trend.
A similar kind of thing.
Something.
Sort of kind of what they do is that they offer general counseling. So if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling suicidal, if you're having relationship problems, whatever you're going through under the sun, it's sort of a place where you can go. You get general counseling. So it's sort of shifted a lot from the time that I worked there. But at the time I worked there, it was lay counselors. So what that means is that it's not your psychologists or your, people with fancy degrees. It's normal human beings who've gone through a level of training on basic counseling that are able to listen empathetically. And my former director, her name is Joan Marshall. Bless her heart, I'll never forget that lady. One of the things she taught me was that just what people need who are going through a hard time is people who can take their hearts and put them on their ears and listen to them as they process through their experiences, their pains, their traumas. And a lot of the times, just having someone who listens to you empowers you. It liberates you. It lets you know that I actually do have the power and the capacity to overcome my challenges and to deal with my loss or my pain over time. It doesn't say suppress the pain, but it says in time I will be okay. I have the capacity to self heal, to self care, and to get from a place where if I feel, for example, in your case, I'm not as confident as I want to be or I would like to be, I'll get there eventually as I have a friend next to me who is processing these thoughts and these feelings with me. So I had a very unfair advantage. I worked in that context for a year after matric. I sort of went off. I did a church mission thing for 2 years in Uganda. Did that for 2 years, came back. And when I came back around April of 2012, I think. So there was still a couple of months from April until the following year, which was when I would start university in January, February. So when I came back, when did I come back? No, I'm lying. I left in 2013, April 2013, and I came back in April 2015, and I was going to start university in 2016. So we actually started in the same year, you and I. We started varsity in the same year.
Oh.
So I come back in 2015, and I've got a couple of months, and so I also happen to work for Lifeline, and uh, also at a doctor's practice part time. So I was Lifeline, I was at a doctor's practice, Lifeline, doctor's practice. So when I clamp all of that work experience together, it's roughly 2 years at Lifeline,
Yeah.
and not only was it like a important for me in that I got life and work experience. In fact, not only was it important because I got work experience, but it was very important because I got life experience.
Experience. Yeah.
And it was such an important part in my own healing journey. I didn't realize how many traumas many much. Hey, George, it's fine. Bendingayazi ihlobo bendinetraumas
Ilande,
ngalo.
ilande. Yeah.
George.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many traumas I had to work through, you know. But being at Lifeline in that environment, I also did a bit of like peer counseling. So I counseled mostly teenagers, but also people in their early 20s. So sitting with people's problems for a lot of days in a week also then leaves you reflecting on your own issues. And there's also spaces within the organization where counselors are also sort of taken care of, and you get to sort of offload some of your problems and some of your traumas onto someone else. So Lifeline was very pivotal, and the one thing that I learned from Lifeline was just the importance of self-awareness, being a knowledge of who you are, genuinely getting to know yourself. And what I found is that the more you grow your self-awareness, the less you care about what other people think. Like if you genuinely know who you are, if I record a podcast and I don't do an amazing job, it's okay. One podcast is not who I am. It's just a moment in time of who I am. It really says nothing about my personality. It says nothing about who I am. Because I'm grounded in who I am, it then minimizes the impact of the judgment of others. I genuinely don't care what someone thinks about. Like, obviously, I care to put out, once again, to just expand on the example of the podcast. I care to put out value to the people who choose to subscribe on the channel and who choose to watch these videos.
Yeah.
I put value to having the best conversations that I can with my guests. I give my 100% in preparing and also just being present as we're having this interview.
Yeah.
But the end product, what someone thinks about the end product, hey, Baba, it's got nothing to do with me. That's it's on you. That's on you. So I think self-awareness is very important, because the more that grows, the less you care about what other people think.
Yeah.
And then the next important thing is the more you are free to not just be yourself, but to explore other parts of yourself, parts that you feel, this is not really Cat, but let's give it a try. Let's see, maybe I don't know about this mixtape release. I don't know how it will be received, but you know what? Let me try, because I'm grounded in who I am. I know who I am. I've got a track record. As Ukati, I've been invited at the highest media level, the SABC. It doesn't get bigger than that in South Africa. So for me to have been invited onto that platform must mean that I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And that track record speaks to who I am. So that's number one. Number two, which I think is more important than number. I need to stop doing this.
Number two, no number one.
Yeah. Oh, so number two is self-acceptance, which I think is more important than number one. So once you know who you are, then the next important thing is to just accept who you are. As Zulunga, I know that I don't have a super extroverted personality. I don't have a wow, hey, this is who I am. That's not me. I'm aware of that,
Yeah.
and I've accepted that I'm someone of a calm nature. I'm not a
Yeah.
fighter. I'm a lover. I mean, I'll fight if I need to, but that's just not my
Yeah.
thing. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
grounded in who I am, and I accept who I am, which I think is more important than the first. Once you accept who you are, I think you become very unstoppable. I think you are liberated to be who you authentically are. You're free
Mm-hmm.
to explore who you can be,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't mind the judgment of other people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I promise this is the last part. This is like closing it off because I feel like I'm talking too much.
Hayi
Uh,
uyasivuselela ungabe uyeka uyasivuselela because it's these things them as a
mm,
person, them, you expose yourself to them even
mm,
without anyone else exposing them to you, but
mm,
it gives you a stamp when somebody reassures you exactly what you were thinking. For example,
yeah.
sonke siyayicabanga into ukuthi I don't care what people say. Deep down,
Mm,
you care. So when somebody says it in a different context from how you convinced yourself to be,
mm,
it gives that thing of hi, the good right track. This is the right
yeah.
track that I'm taking. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm taking the right track, but in a wrong way. When somebody
Mm,
tries to curve like your footsteps into the right direction, you'll be like, ah, okay, this is how you're supposed to walk. And yeah.
yeah. Yo, just to piggyback on what you're saying, I think it's so important because it's not just about saying things to yourself that you don't really believe. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I don't care what people say, it doesn't matter, blah blah blah. But internally, you're like, ish,
Mm,
ish, that hurt. You
mm,
care.
mm.
I think it's about putting in the work, which takes a lot of time. Because for me, honestly, and I'm not there yet. I'm
Yeah.
still a work in progress. Me starting this YouTube channel, me starting these podcasts, doing things that I'm uncomfortable with, is
Mm-hmm.
all part of the process of getting to a place of self acceptance or continuing to work on self awareness, self acceptance. But it needs to be a genuine and it's taken years because
Mm-hmm.
a journey that started I finished matric when 2011. So I started with Lifeline 2012. So
Mm-hmm.
starting from 2012 to still be working on this more than 10 years later
Yeah.
speaks to how you have to it's work. It's not just saying words to yourself that you don't even believe. It's not saying I don't care what people say. It's about putting in the work in terms of building your self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
through the things we know to do, journaling, therapy if you need to, speaking to a friend, getting feedback from people in your circle who genuinely care about you and who know you, doing things to build your self-awareness and to build your confidence, and to then come into a place where you genuinely don't care. It needs to be like a genuine thing. It's something you come into, or it's something that sort of like comes upon you, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to you like chasing, saying, self-awareness, or I don't care.
Hey,
Anybody
most
can
again
say what I
said.
don't care.
Most again said nothing. I don't care. More Puma, I don't. But deep down, it's like the moment you try to convince yourself that you don't care, that's actually when you care. That's one thing I've realized. I've learned is that the moment you say I don't care, okay aze ngamandla avela athi vuhu uvela ubona ukuthi you I actually care.
Care. I actually care.